Okay, so for this video, let's talk about the restaurant industry. Um, there is definitely an epidemic of restaurants being understaffed. So, so I went to Rib Crib tonight for dinner, and and this is something I've noticed because during some of my when my business is slow, I tend to supplement income by doing stuff such as DoorDash and Grubhub. Um, in my lifetime, I've done the Uber Eats, I've done the Ubers and Lyfts and stuff like that. I don't do I do not miss the day of doing rideshare jobs, and I'll talk about that in another video. But so uh, so so I've seen over the years, I've seen how understaffed a lot of restaurants are, and some are in a better shape than others. Tonight was a huge sign. So I went to Rib Crib for dinner, and the hostess had me. They said just how they have you sit down when they're waiting to get you a table. So the bench that I sat in, you could see the kitchen, and I looked over, and there are two people sitting next to me, and you could tell they were door dashing. Well, one you could see the DoorDash app on his phone, and the other one was just like scrolling Facebook on his phone, and they're both like, you could tell they've been waiting a while. I know that body language. They've been waiting a while. You could see the kitchen, and they had 10 tickets. For those who never worked in the restaurant industry, now some restaurants might have a different terminology. Every restaurant I've worked at, and I've worked in kitchens at bars, and and I always see they call it a ticket. So when an order comes in, they print it out, and the cook takes it, and then when it's done, gives it to. So you're seeing it from the person who's actually prepping up the food. You could say there were some to-go order boxes. There's probably about four of them, and then you could see basically a catering order, which is usually in a big bag that's sitting there. And there's one person. There's a cook, and then there's one person serving, and there's 10 tickets. So there's 10 orders. So that's 10 people, depending on the size of the party, of course, that are waiting on their food. And on top of it, and definitely there are a couple of door dashers waiting, and they don't get paid to wait. They don't get paid till they deliver the food. I'm sitting here like, I'm just saying, you guys can. That's crazy to be that understaffed and be this busy. And I know this has been an issue since after 2020, after the pandemic, and when establishments started to open again, and well, after people got paid, handsomely to stay home, getting them to and or enjoyed working from home. Some did. I mean, that was an issue, and then inflation. Um, so there's a lot of different entities that were involved, and so I understand that probably one of the big issues is that people don't get paid enough. The cost of living is insane right now. I see it. I deal with it myself. Now, for those of us who have like a savings and have a cushion to fall back on, you know, everything being a little higher priced is really just an inconvenience versus life crushing. But my main point about this is something something has to give. You know what I mean? And I think it sucks for anyone to have to, like, now that there's one person in the kitchen. I would say if you're the only one, first of all, that sucks. There should have been at least two others, especially on a night we're that busy. Because you run a restaurant, you should have data. You should have a spreadsheet. You should look at, hey, these are our busy nights, and it's a Thursday, so I can imagine how much worse it would be on a Friday or Saturday, even a Sunday. Even Sundays can potentially, some families probably want to go out to eat on a Sunday, but Fridays and Saturdays are a motherfucker. in the restaurant industry. Okay, that's busy. And you can't force people to work, and I feel like, and I do believe that with wages not keeping up with inflation, um, and yes, I will, I totally agree that, and I understand and fully understand that, the pay really depends on your experience and your level of expertise. And obviously, you know, trades and degree related careers, not jobs, careers is going to be where the money's at. But still, man, you can't offer such low pay and then wonder why nobody wants the job. And the way I look at it is there's going to have to be some kind of realism. And because you could say, well, restaurant employees are a dime a dozen. They're not. It takes a special kind of person to do jobs like that. Wait tables, bartend, even be the manager to a point where you're working late and early mornings. I don't know. So it can't go on like this. And when you have it, and it hurts your business. I think to look at your employee staff, to look at your labor, your employee staff. Look at it from such a low angle to a point where, well, there's no worth paying them a decent wage. Because when you own a restaurant, like, your employees are really those are your biggest assets. I mean, they're your biggest assets in any company, but for a restaurant, like, if you are trying to be cheap, that's going to hurt your business. To me, that's to you making sure that you don't have employees that feel appreciated and want to work hard. When you have employees that feel appreciated and want to work hard, and go above and beyond, your restaurant's going to flourish because the customers are going to notice that, and they're going to take notice of that. And so I feel like it's bad business to not appreciate the employees, because, especially when they're busting their ass. I'm very worried right now. Very worried about where we're going, as far as, and I'm going to talk about this more in another video. Trust me, I am. But yeah, there's you're gonna have to find, and I understand, I understand that when you raise wages, they're gonna have to raise prices to match that. But then are they just being greedy because they don't want to lose, profit? But profit is important in a business. I just think this needs to be addressed. I think it needs. So I'm gonna end this. I know this video is going kind of long. It needs to be addressed, and it can't just be the workers that are addressing it. Like, the upper management has to take notice and say, this is a problem. We need to fix it. Quit waiting. We don't need to be waiting on politicians or the government, because they could give a fuck less. And I don't know if they even have the answers. So